Kilmeny, good afternoon.
Bianca, John, good to be with you. Some developments there on that Supreme Court Justice security bill that's being batted back and forth between the two parties. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, in her weekly press briefing, taking a question from a reporter on when we might see that go to a vote on the House floor. She replied to that reporter that the justices are protected, saying that it was being held up by language in the Senate. It actually passed weeks ago unanimously in the Senate. And she went on to, of course, say that they would try to pass that today. At the conclusion of her press conference, I asked a follow-up on her comments. Take a listen.
Were protected when there was an attempt on Justice Kavanaugh's life. You said the justices are protected, but there was an attempt on Justice Kavanaugh's life.
It's protected. The justices are protected. This issue is not about the justices. It's about staff and the rest. The justices are protected. You saw the Attorney General even double down on that.
But this is about security for the justices. An armed man showed up near Justice Kavanaugh's house today.
There will be a bill, but nobody is in danger over the weekend because of our not having a bill.
Well, immediately following that press conference, House Republicans held their own press briefing, speaking quite a bit about January 6th. But right out of the gate, Republican House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy following up on the Speaker's comments.
I know the Speaker just had a press conference in here. I'm told she said nobody is a threat over the weekend. I don't know how she can say that, knowing that you just captured a person who wanted to kill Kavanaugh and his family. So was he not in any threat yesterday?
McCarthy went on to reference the Speaker's comments two more times in that press conference, very frustrated, calling the Democrats shameful on Thursday when he tried to encourage that bill to go for a House vote on Thursday. He said Democrats were blocking it. And of course, we'll have to see how this develops in terms of the actual vote, given the fact that you have House leadership saying that they are going to put it to a vote today. But given the Speaker's comments, it's unclear if that will have to wait past the weekend. John, Bianca.
Well, Kilmeny, good exchange there between you and Pelosi. You know, it's always refreshing. Real journalism there, asking the tough questions, not really getting the answer. Kilmeny Dukart live on Capitol Hill. Appreciate that.
All right, let's welcome in now Indiana Senator Mike Braun. Senator, great to have you with us.
Good to be on.
I'd like to get your reaction to that exchange we just saw there with Kilmeny and Nancy Pelosi. You know, you guys in the Senate had passed this bill. It's sitting there waiting for the House to take up a vote on it. They decided a vote on a assault weapons ban was more important. How do you think she can say that, given what we learned about Brett Kavanaugh's accused attacker this weekend? Also, we have this law that prohibits these protests at the Supreme Court Justice's house, but the Attorney General doesn't want to enforce it. So what is Nancy Pelosi talking about?
She's doing what she normally does. If it's something she's really interested in, like the January 6th commission, you're going to pour the coals to it. You're going to keep it out there forever. Of course, that's coming to a crescendo maybe this evening. But when they're interested in it, they'll do it. Here, you had Chuck Schumer months ago on the Supreme Court steps, flaring and riling up the crowd, referring to Gorsuch and Kavanaugh. So that stuff all gets forgotten. It is critical. If we can't have our Supreme Court justices feel safe in their own homes, we haven't ever heard how the report got leaked in the first place. But no, she'll pay attention to what her political agenda in her mind is important. She'll dismiss the rest and hope you don't have tough questions like that. I think this is such a high profile when you catch somebody that close to a justice's house. I don't think she can squirm out of this one.
Yeah, and let's hope that there is peace. I mean, we want to show you some slides here of what we saw just hours after, this attempted assassination on Justice Kavanaugh. There are people that were arrested. He was arrested, but there's protesters marching outside his home. We know there is a law that, forbids this. And it just seems that this can only signal and strengthen to these protesters that they will be allowed to come back. And I mean, isn't that the danger here, that there's this organized protest that comes? They know what time to arrive. Senator, they even know what time to leave, reportedly, because of a noise ordinance in this neighborhood. They are clearly coordinated and not going away.
I mean, you're in this area here, and local law enforcement, the people that are in charge, the folks that need to enforce these rules and laws, there's always latitude. And yes, it does beg the question, how can this happen? And more broadly, what does it do down the road for not only the Supreme Court, any other institution of justice, that fear, that threat that your life might be in danger? I mean, Wisconsin, we had an incident recently, where it got played out. So we've got to really be careful, not only that we enforce every ordinance, every local law, everything you've got within your own authority here in the District of Columbia, and not do it for things that you're politically in favor of, and then refuse to do it when you're against it politically.
Will you be watching tonight's January 6th hearing, Senator?
Maybe I'll catch the highlights on Jimmy Kimmel.
That's a great answer. I mean, we're going to see, obviously, a very politicized event this evening. I think we can call it an event. And we heard from Kevin McCarthy earlier talking about why Republicans, with the exception of Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger, are refusing to participate. One of the things that's going to be weird, I think, for a lot of people, if they do tune in tonight, there is going to be no cross-examination of any of these witnesses. So, I mean, who can consider this a legitimate attempt to seek the truth?
It's a kangaroo court. It's a commission that was founded for one reason. Their agenda is about as bad as it could be. I mean, you look at all of them. I won't repeat the issues, but we got a platter of opportunity to work with. This was a diversion from the get-go, and everyone knew it was going to play out probably through the midterms, because when you are so bad on the things that Americans care about, like when I drove through the north side of Indianapolis, gas was $5.15 last Friday. Now, get another news blurb, it's averaging over $5 across the country. That in and of itself is enough to put everybody out of office that has been directing the policies that cause it. This is a diversion. It's all they've got, and they'll ride it right up and through the midterms.
And obviously there will be facts that will be omitted. They'll selectively pick and choose who they want to hear from. Obviously, if they wanted the truth, they would have allowed Republicans like Jim Jordan, Jim Banks to participate on the panel. We won't have any of that. They're trying to say they'll be having some bombshell and new things, video never seen before. What types of tricks do you think they have up their sleeve to try and draw in viewers and change people's minds? Because frankly, polls are showing that Americans don't really believe that Trump was involved in inciting anything.
I think the cue there is they've hired a producer, somebody to put the whole thing together this evening. And yes, it's tainted in all the ways they hypocritically talk about these same issues and wanting that integrity, that broad scrutiny. Look at the two impeachments, especially the one out of the gate that was a railroad job from the get-go. It doesn't make any difference. You got to remember, Democrats, I call this place their cathedral. It's their growth business. They believe they are faster footed than Republicans. Many times we do not hit back. We hardly ever undo any of the legislation, but we've got to be a little more vocal in stating where we want to be and point it out. They're unapologetic about it. They believe they can spin any bad idea into something they can sell.
Before we let you go, Senator, I wanted to ask you about a hearing that was held on Capitol Hill yesterday, and it was about gun control. And I want to play a clip for you of Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Take a listen.
There is no discussion about gun violence in New York City without discussing the iron pipeline that is Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, Pennsylvania, and honorary mention to Ohio, where 70% of likely illegal trafficked guns found in New York City come from. There's no discussion about gun violence in Chicago without talking about Indiana, because the violence and the mothers that we have to comfort are losing children due to the guns and the carnage and the lawlessness unleashed by those states.
So the people that want to defund the police, they want cashless bail, are blaming Indiana for Chicago's gun violence issue. What's your response to that?
Senator Durbin has done that same thing. She probably got the line from him on that. Let's face it. All of us should be for keeping guns out of the hands of criminals and the mentally ill. A lot of this gets down to the culture, where the gun violence really occurs, where most of the mass shootings are that you don't even get reported, are in the very places that Democrats have been running for decades. So explain that. And the issue is not that guns are coming in from other places. The issue is the combination of law enforcement, the combination of your local culture. It's broken down. The issues are in the very places for decades that she's talking about, and it goes much more broadly than trying to take away Second Amendment rights when these issues occur and blame it on something other than the root problem.
Senator Mike Braun from Indiana. Great to see you, sir. Thank you so much.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, where real news for real people.